Hi, this is Kevin. Welcome to part four of my tutorial for the coding assignment for Severance chapter 14. And in this one, we're going to be working on a program called Create Vehicle Registration Invoices Starter. Okay? And I'm going to want, here's what I'm going to recommend. Rather than copying this wholesale into the tutorial project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open mine with um, a editor other than PyCharm. In this case, on Mac OS, I'm using Sublime Text. Okay, and this is going to have our code. And then what I'm going to do, and I think would work for you, is I'm going to copy this a piece at a time and build it, and I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so first I need to create a file here, a Python file, and this one's going to be called create vehicle invoices. Vehicle registration invoice. Registration invoices starter. And don't have to add .py. There it is right there. And okay. I'm going to bring over the doc string and my imports. Okay. And so the doc string print vehicle registration invoices for cars and trucks. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. And let's see how this works. Well, let's just bring over the main. Okay. Okay. So here's the code for main. Okay, and it lights up like a Christmas tree because we're calling a lot of things that we haven't included the code for. Okay, so we're going to call a function called getVehicles. It's going to read a file of vehicles, okay, and it's going to build instances of either car or truck, okay, a file of cars or trucks. Now, do we have that file? No, we don't have it yet, but we have it here in our starter files. So we have car and truck records.txt. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it in my data subdirectory. And let's look at that when it comes in. Car and truck records. And as you can see, these are realistic data for cars and trucks registered in Illinois. Okay, so we have a truck, a car, a truck, truck, car, truck, truck, car, car, truck, 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 car, 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 car. Okay, and so we have the type of record that it is, and we have the first and last name of the owner, their address, the make, the model, the year, the color, the vehicle identification number, and because this is a truck, we have the gross weight in pounds. Whereas with a car, we have the fuel type. Okay, so we're going to read this file, all right, and we're going to, in get vehicles, we're going to construct either a car or truck, depending upon whether we have a car or a truck, and we're going to add it to a list, and then we're going to return that list, and it's going to come back to main as a return value, and we're going to call that list vehicles. And then we're going to sort vehicles 3 different times. And why are we doing that? Well, it turns out that this is one way to sort by more than one sort key. Okay, there are other ways to do this. You can kind of create a combined field and try to sort on that. But the kind of purest way to do this is if you want the invoices to come out by city and then by last name and then by first name, we sort it in opposite order. And that's because the sort for list in Python is what we call a stable sort. So if we put it in first name order, and then we sort it by last name, for equal last names, it will maintain the order that we had for first name. Likewise, if we sort it by city, okay, for equal cities, it will keep it in last name order, and for equal last names, it will keep it in first name order. So this is a way to sort by city, last name, and first name. Okay, so that's the order that we're going to expect them to come out. We're going to have a function called print invoices, which is going to print all the invoices, and we needed to pass it the list with the instances of the vehicles. Okay, let's take a look at get vehicles. So I'm going to copy it from my already baked version. You should do the same for yours. And this looks kind of like some things we've done before, maybe a little different. And the difference really comes from the fact that we need to decide whether we want to construct a car or a truck, or whether we're being asked to construct something that we don't have a class for. Okay? Okay, let's look. So we set up the directory name, we prompt for the file name, we construct an input file path and name. We do an open with the encoding equal to UTF-8. We set up an empty list. We call it my vehicles. So then we say for line in file, we're going to iterate over the lines in the in file. And here's what we're going to do. We can kind of cheat and find out the kind of record that we have by using the starts with method of the string class. So if it starts with car, we're going to construct a car instance. If it starts with truck, we're going to construct a truck instance. And what are we going to pass in to each of those? Well, line. Okay. And what are we going to get back? Well, we're going to call it a vehicle. Okay. But it is either a car or a truck. And because of the class hierarchy, a car is a vehicle. So it's going to be treated the right way if we're expecting one of the vehicle subclasses, and a truck is a vehicle. But we have to make sure that if we are reading a file that has other things in it other than car and truck, well, we don't know what to construct, so we just want to stop. So we're going to raise a value error and say car or truck was expected. This line starts with, and we're just going to show the first 10 characters of the line so you know that you have a car or a truck. And 10 characters is enough. When you get to your new version of this, when you do the exercise, you're going to have a motorcycle, so that's enough for you to see all of the letters in the word motorcycle. Okay? And then whatever we created in vehicle, whatever we got back from the call to these constructor functions, well, we're going to append it to my vehicles. Then when we've done this for all the lines in the file, we're going to close the input file and we're going to return my vehicles. And that's going to bring us up here. Okay, now we're going to need to construct a car instance and construct a truck instance. And I'm just going to bring over both of those at the same time. Okay, I'm just going to copy them both out of my already baked version and bring them over. Okay, so I need to skip 2 lines and copy them in. So let's look at how these work, okay? Remember, we're passing in line and we're passing back a vehicle, okay? And I just want to remind you that it's okay for us to refer to it as vehicle because a car is a vehicle because it's a subtype of the vehicle type. So the first thing we're do is we're going to call strip online to make sure that the last field does not have a line feed after it. Okay? So we just said line is equal to line, call the strip method, and that eats the line feed at the end. There are several ways to do that, but I kind of like this one. Okay. And right here, we're going to get a list called data fields. These are all the data fields from the record. And we call split on line, and we say we want to split on commas because these are comma separated values. It's not a classic comma separated value files because it doesn't have the column names in record 1, but the values are separated by commas. And so we get a really long list, okay? And I've done something, this is the first time I've really done this. I wanted to unpack these, but if I tried to unpack them all on one line, I would have been way off the line, okay? So what I decided to do here was to unpack approximately the first half of them, and then unpack approximately the second half of them. So I get all the value of unpacking without the kind of unwieldy line continuations, okay? And you'll notice that the very last thing that we get is fuel type. Okay, this is a thing that's going to be different between cars and trucks. If we just go down and look at the unpacking here for trucks, it's not fuel type, it's gross weight. Okay? Now that we have all the data from the record, we just construct a car. So we construct a car and we assign that object, that value object to the variable vehicle. And for the most part, we can just use these variables the way that they are because they're mostly strings. The only thing that needs further processing is we need to call int on year to turn it into a proper int. Okay, so then we get back a car object, and a car is a vehicle, and we return vehicle. And for truck, we construct a truck instance, okay, and the very last thing is gross weight. Okay, so we're going to construct a truck, and we have to call int on year. We also have to call int on gross weight because the class is expecting proper int values for both of those. And then, of course, we've loaded up vehicle and we return vehicle. Okay. So now um, this reads pretty succinctly because I can tell you that when I coded this originally, I coded this all inline. It was really, really, really long, and then I refactored it to make um, these where we constructed the instances. I factored these out into functions, and it took a little bit of work, but I think it's worthwhile. And given the fact that we expect to include more subtypes, this get vehicles would have been really out of control too long if these construct car instance and construct truck instances were not factored out. Okay, so now we've done the get vehicles. That looks fine. Okay, we need two blank lines before main. Okay, and before we start worrying about print invoices, we've got these three sorts, and for the keys, we're passing function names, but we don't have the functions yet. So I'm going to go back to my already baked version. Okay, and I'm going to copy my functions that do the sort key values. And I'm going to put this down at the end. Okay, and let's skip 2 lines. Okay, and again, uh, these are going to be called by sort. Sort is going to pass a vehicle instance. Okay, and we're going to call first name, last name, or city on these. Well, we're not calling them, we're just retrieving the first name, the last name, or the city. Okay. And again, this is going to work on the Hollywood principle. Don't call us, we'll call you. Sort is going to call these when it sees fit. Okay. When it's doing its comparing of the items in the list, well, the sort method of the list is going to call these functions when it wants to do the comparison of the items. Okay. All right. So now we should be okay all the way through sort. And now we just have to print invoices. Okay. We're going to pass in the list of vehicles and we're going to print invoices. And again, I'm going to copy this over from my already baked version. Print invoices. And let's see where we are. We need 2 blank lines at the end. I'm going to copy that. And you know what? I also need the call to main. Right? So let me copy that as well. That's going to be all the way down the bottom here. Skip 2 lines. Call to main. And an empty line at the end. Okay. So let's see what we do with print invoices. So print invoices is maybe a little on the long side. Okay. But it's okay for me, right? And I'm not going to worry about being too long. If I close this, I can just about see all of it. Okay. Could we factor some stuff out of it? Yeah, we probably could, but it'd have to get a little bit longer for me. Okay, now this is the first time that we're going to demonstrate a feature of class hierarchies where we've got a superclass and subclasses. When we call methods, that occur in the sub classes. And of course, they have a different implementation for each sub class. That means that each of the sub classes is going to behave differently. And when's it going to do that? Well, when we call determine annual registration fee. Okay, so we're going to print out some common stuff here. Okay, and then we're going to print out a line that says amount due. Okay, and we're going to print the annual registration fee with 2 decimal places. But the beautiful things of thing about the way these class hierarchies work is that each of these instances knows what subtype it is. It knows whether it's a car or a truck. Okay, so when we call determine annual registration fee, we are going to execute the method for that subtype. Okay, so if it's a car, we're going to get the calculation for a car. If it's a truck, we're going to get the calculation for a truck. And this is called, in computer science terms, it's called polymorphism. Okay, that's a fancy way to say that objects know their subtypes and they exhibit the behavior that's appropriate for their subtype. It's really cool stuff. Okay, so for the most part here in this print invoices, we're going to be printing the same thing for each of we're going to be printing the same thing for cars and trucks. Okay, and later when we add the motorcycles, well, it'll be the same thing. That's what you're going to do in your exercise. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say for vehicle in these vehicles. So we're going to count the invoices that we printed so we can print a message at the end. Okay, so for a vehicle in these vehicles, we're going to check which subtype this is. Okay, why is that? Well, when we call determine annual registration fee, we're going to get the right answer for that, depending upon the subtype. But we, in our invoice printing program, we're going to want to print things a little different on the basis of whether we have a car or a truck, and later on whether we have a motorcycle. And so we need to know the subtype. So we can check that by saying we can use the isInstance operator. Now, isInstance works a little different than you think it might be. The call is to isInstance, and then we pass the variable name and the class name. Okay, and so if that variable is pointing to an object of that class type, this is going to evaluate to true. Okay, so if vehicle references a car, then we're going to set the vehicle type equal to a car. Else if it's a truck, we're going to set the vehicle type to truck, and we should only be getting cars and trucks. So if we've got something else we're not prepared for, we're just going to blow it up and we're going to say expected car or truck, this is and we're going to say what the type is. Okay, and we'll probably do a test before we go off and do the exercise. We'll probably do a test with the file that includes motorcycles, and we'll watch this thing just blow up. Okay, so what are we going to print? Well, for each of these things, we're going to skip 4 or 5 blank lines, and we're going to take the vehicle type, shift to uppercase, and we're going to say either car registration invoice or truck registration invoice. Okay. Then we're going to have a line amount due, skip a line before that. And then we're going to skip a line and we're going to have, we're going to print the name and the address of the owner. Okay. And then uh, we're going to skip a line and show the make, the model, the vehicle year, the color, the vehicle ID. Those are all common. So we do the same thing regardless of the subtype. Now, the last thing, if it's a car, we want to show the fuel type. So we check the vehicle type. If it's a car, then we retrieve the fuel type and print it. Else, if it's a truck, we retrieve the fuel type and we print it. Else, and we should never get here, but always good to be safe, we're going to blow this up and say, well, we're expecting a car or a truck, and this is something else. Okay, and then we printed an invoice, so we bump up the invoice account, and then when we're done, we skip, I think, 5 lines, and we say, invoices printed, invoices have been printed. Okay, now do we have any data? No, we don't. Let's go find the data files for this. Okay, so we've got a version that's got car records only. We don't really need this. So we've got car and truck and car, truck, and motorcycle. Okay, so let's select car records, car and truck, and let's select car, truck, and motorcycle. And I'm going to copy those and I'm going to paste them into my data subdirectory. All right. That looks good. I don't know. Maybe I already had them there. I probably already had them there. I'm not sure what I did. I don't think I had the motorcycle ones there. So I brought that over for sure. Perhaps I already had car and truck and I just wasn't seeing them. Okay. Let's do some testing. So let's run this. Okay. So enter input file name. Let's see what it does with empty file. Empty file.txt. Okay, so it skipped 5 lines and it says 0 invoices have been printed. So not pretty, but graceful enough for me. Okay, all right, that's good. So let's run it again. And let's run car and truck records.txt. Okay, 73 invoices have been printed. I think that's the lucky amount. Okay, and let's just go up and look. Here's a car registration invoice. The amount due is $300. Okay, so we didn't check if we had a car or a truck and do different different things for one or the other. We just called the method in the subclass, and it knew for this car that's fossil fuel, it knew that the amount due should be $300. Okay, and here's another car before it, fossil fuel, $300. And another car. And here's a truck. So this is a truck with gross weight 10,000 pounds, $400. Okay, car. Oh, here's a Camry hybrid. Hybrids are $200. That one looks right. Let's see, we can do, here's a truck, gross weight 16,000 pounds, $700. That's correct. What can we find? Hybrid. Let's find an electric. Here's an electric. So here's a Nissan Leaf, fuel electric, amount to $100. This is beautiful. Okay, just absolutely beautiful. So this is it. Okay, all right. Well, it's not quite it. What if it? This is a problem that happens when you're expanding the system, adding subtypes. We've got the data here that includes the motorcycle uh, records. What if we tried to get this starter version of the program to process that? How would that go? Well, let's run it again. Okay, and this is called car, truck, and motorcycle records dot text, and it blew it up. So we got a value error. Car truck was expected. This line starts with motorcycle. Oops. Okay, so the version of the data that we have isn't compatible with the version of the program that we have. And if you see that, that happened on line 10, and that's when we were creating the list and get vehicles. We read a line that was not for a car or a truck. How about that? Okay, so now you're ready to go. You'll be working on your exercise 4. It is the one where you're going to add the motorcycles. So good luck on that, and I'll say bye until next time. Bye bye.